Hi, this is Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today's book is Peter Rabbit from 1958. So let's get started. Once upon a time, there was four little rabbits, and their name was Floppy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the roof of a very big tree. Now, my dear, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but do not go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. You would put in the pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a bucket and her umbrella and went through the woods to the baker. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Floppy, Mopsy, and Cottontail was good little bunnies. Went down the lane to gather blackberries, but Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes, and then feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should be met but Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbage, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadful, frightening. He rushed all over the garden, but he forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes amongst the cabbage, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster so that he might have gotten away altogether if he had not unfortunately ran into the gooseberries nest and got caught by the large button on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for the loss and then shed big tears, but his sobs was overheard by some friendly sparrow who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a shear, which he would intended to pop up on the top of Peter, but Peter wiggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind, and rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. If Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hiding underneath a flower pot, he began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed, caught true. Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of the window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright. He had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp while sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity lip, not very far, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone steps, carrying peas and beans to her family in the woods. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water can. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it was alive. Peter thought it's the best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back toward the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe scratching. Peter scattered underneath the bushes. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed up on a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onion. His back was turned toward Peter, and behind him was the gate. Peter got down very quickly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds, but Peter never stopped running or looking behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with all his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in the fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some carrotine and gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoon to be taken at bedtime. But Floppy, Moppy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberry for supper. So that was Peter Rabbit for 1958. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, have a groovy day. We have another video coming out real soon.